to do something with found objects, although we do have a couple of little supplies, but for the most part, it's all things that we have found. Luckily, I live in Wisconsin and I live near Lake Michigan, so it's easy for me to go down to the waterfront and try and find stones and things like that. So today, we're going to do a project with driftwood and rocks, and found some great rocks the other day. Now, a lot of regular rocks because I do some stone painting as well. So I was looking for that as well. But these I thought were really cool. If they're kind of a cement piece almost. They've got a lot of different kinds of rocks in it. I just thought they were really interesting. So this is what we're going to use in making a wall hanging today. Lots of driftwood. I've got a lot of pieces here that we're going to use. I'm going to use basically it's a natural cord. This is the label that came off of this cord. And this is 1.2 millimeters thick. So I actually got this at Hobby Lobby. It's usually in the macrame department. So what we're going to do today is make a wall hanging, and I'm hoping that this works, and it's just basically going to be done with knots. I did find, a friend of mine gave me some really old necklaces from the 80s, and they had these really cool, like, I don't know if these are coconuts or what. There's some kind of a bead here. I did have to drill the hole a little bit bigger to get the cord through, so hopefully that will work. And let's get started. I'm anxious to try this too. So I have a lot of different pieces of driftwood here. And I'm gonna just try and decide how I want this to work. And what I'm thinking of all the rocks that I've brought along, I've already cut a piece of cord. I think I'm going to start with this interesting piece of driftwood as my top. So that's going to start, and then I'm going to put this big fat one in, and then I'm going to put another piece of driftwood. And then I think I'm going to break it up and have this, it's a very smooth stone. The things I like about Lake Michigan rocks is these things are naturally polished. Now there is a way you can polish them to keep, if you want them to have that wet look. You can spray them, but I prefer to have more of a natural sheen to them. And what you would use is, it takes a little bit of elbow grease, but you get some beeswax and you rub it, and then you just kind of burnish it that way. And it gives it a really nice shine, kind of a muted matte, but it still gives it that wet feel. So I'm just going to lay this out here. And I want my driftwood to kind of go, I thought this was a really cool piece. I want it to go kind of small to large, or rather large to small. And here's how I'm going to put these in. And this one that's kind of a diamond shape, I want that one to be my last stone. So I think that one's the smallest. Might be a little fat, so I'm gonna go with this one. Yeah, we'll go that way. And as you can see, I've got this kind of like tapering down. So from here, I've cut a piece of twine of the cord already. I'm kind of just guessing at how long this is going to be, but I think I went twice as long. Let's see here. This looks like it's about 2 feet, so this looks like it's about 4 feet. Because I'm going to need some room to tie these rocks on. So, first thing though, I've already drilled holes in my driftwood, which saves some time. So, I'm going to start threading some of this through. And we're going to know in the first 5 minutes. Also, to keep this easy to thread, this twine will unravel. So I just took a little bit of E6000 in my fingers and just kind of ran it over the edge of the end of these pieces, so that almost makes a natural needle. So I'm going to put both of these babies through here. If I can get it through. Of course, it's getting caught on a piece of wood. Okay. All right. So we're through there. Now I want there to be a loop to hang it off of, so I'm going to make a big knot in the end here, and I'm going to make it a big fat one so that this doesn't go through the hole, which I don't think it will, but just to be sure. Okay, so we've got that. And now I'm going to also make another knot on the other end of it to keep it in place so it doesn't slide down. Gravity's a terrible thing. Anyone who's my age would know that gravity is not your friend. Okay. All right. Well, see, now that is a problem. Okay. With that said, I'm going to put this through again. And one thing I just realized, as I drilled this before, this thing, when I held it up, and I'll show you, it's heavier on one end. So this is not going to lay the way I really want it to. So I may just switch this one out. Keep that in mind when you're drilling. I did these rather quickly, and I would suggest that you do a balance test on these, which is something I did not do, which I should have done. I was eyeballing it, but it may be centered, but weight-wise, it's not. So what I'm going to do, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm pulling this back through. Okay, this is centered pretty much, but here's the thing. You want to make sure that it balances. So really, for this to go vertical, the hole should have been right there. So we're going to pick a different piece, but I think will balance better. Yeah, that one I think is going to balance a little better and stay straight. Yeah, okay, well, we'll see what happens. If not, we'll have a little bit of a crooked top. Okay, try this one out. And if you like them to be off balance, that's fine too, whichever way you want it. Okay, I just like the natural feel of the driftwood. Okay, I'm going to do another double just because I don't want it to slide through or be pulled through. Sally says I'm mumbling, but that's the way that I talk. Okay, that's better. That's better. Okay. So now, shifting these aside, we need to put on, I'm going to put a couple of these on here. Probably just 3, enough to show a little bit of color. And like I said, I had gone ahead and drilled these holes just a little thicker, a little bigger, because like I said, this was one of those 1980s necklaces that had all the natural woods and things on it. I have a lot of old necklaces. If you see them at garage sales, I mean, don't think of them as tacky jewelry, think of them as potential beads that you can use. I find vintage beads, you know, something from, you know, if they're not, some of these vintage things you can actually make some money on if they're quality work. One thing I wanted to do here also, which I did not do, but I will do now. I want to put a knot in between each of these. Don't mean to bounce around here, but that's what I'm going to do here. Okay. And these are just basically slip knots. They're not anything special, but I do want to make sure that I keep them close to the actual piece. And that way you can see how these are going to float like that, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So Anyway, as I was saying, some of these older pieces of jewelry that don't look like much are I use them for wind chimes, and I use them for just different design projects. Believe me, I've got tons of old jewelry that I love to play with. Okay. Okay, so I've got 3 pieces in there, and again, I'm just tying a little knot to make sure that they stay in place. I do things in 3s and 5s, so there's 3. Okay, so our first rock. Now these are heavy, don't forget. So they really need to be, we need to figure out a way to weight them so that they will balance but not fall out. So I'm running the rope through here. And I'm going to tie it up at the top. Let me get this right. Kind of running it behind the rope. Let's see, where did that go? And that's why I chose this natural cord. I mean, it's going to be seen. The knots are going to be seen. So, okay. So there's that at the top. You can see it's kind of balancing the rock like that. Okay, and I ran one of these cords behind and one in the front, and I'm just to make sure that this is secure, I'm just going to tie another knot at the bottom here. Okay. All right. So there's the first one. I want this to have a real natural feel to it, something that's kind of bohemian, something that you would have in a contemporary home. Okay. Tie a knot at the bottom of this one again, kind of place it where I want it, and then I'm going to tie this double knot there. Okay. All right. Now we'll go for the next stone, and this one is a regular kind of a granite looking stone. Okay, and again we're gonna, it's too far up. I have already decided I'm gonna make this a little shorter than I had originally planned. I'm going to put this one in here. I'm just going to use 3 rocks instead of 5. And you know what I forgot to do? I wanted to do these guys. So we'll put 3 more of these in. Okay. Here we are so far. And you want to make sure that this thing is more or less centered in. So there's that. Okay, so now we're going to tie this one on. And what I've done is kind of made an X across stone, and I'm running the cord behind. Okay, I'm going to run one again in the front and one in the back, and then I'm tying another knot at the bottom of it, as we did before. Okay, and that should give us, and this one's a nice long rock, so it's pretty secure on there. All right, now one more piece of driftwood, and I have some interesting pieces here. I think I'm going to go with this one. Okay. Now the nice thing is you can make this as long or as short as you want. You know, and as I said before, I decided to shorten this one up just a little bit. I may add to it at another date because it's all ready to go, but at this point I think I'm just going to stick with this, because as I'm tying these knots I realized that I probably could have used, here we are so far. This could almost be a mobile too. Hang it outside on your tree. I mean, it's all natural materials, so. Yeah, but as you can see down here, I'm kind of running out of rope. So I probably, even though I used double of what the length is, I probably could have done double of what that was. And I'm, again, you want to just make sure, looks like this rope is sliding a little bit, so I'm just moving it into the rock a little bit more. Okay, so now, again, 3 of these guys. And we'll tie knots underneath each one again. I feel like I need to put music behind all of this. Yeah, I need to do that. After you do this a few times, and I'm noticing this is my string where I put the glue on is getting a little bit, starting to loosen up a little bit. So thankfully this is, only got a couple more to do. Let's see if I do the other one first, if that would help. First one always goes in easy. It's the second one that trying to get it on top of it, it's always a problem. Okay, we'll try this one more time. Sometimes you have to kind of pull it down to open up the hole a little bit more. These are thin enough that once you get it to the point, you can just pull them through. There. Much better. Okay. Okay. And for the third one, and other one first. Okay, so there's the last three. And now I'm going to use the smallest of the concrete looking rocks. It's kind of a diamond shape, so we'll see how this goes. And I'm noticing I'm running out of some rope here, so I am going to use the longer piece to double up to make sure that it holds enough. So,
Lisa, are you at the end of your rope?
I'm at, yes, Sally. Sally says I'm at the end of my rope, and I'm kind of at the end of my rope. This is called what happens when you don't fully flesh out your craft before you've done it. Okay, I'm gonna figure out a way to get this thing on here. I want to make sure that I kind of make a basket. That's what I'm looking for. You know what I'm going to end up doing, which is, we'll see how this goes. This is called punting now. We'll see if we can hide this knot in the back if we have to.
I know you played football.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's get this right here. So I have this knot now in here. I'll probably put a dab of glue on it just to make sure it doesn't go out. Doesn't cut off the fray. Now I have a little more to work with, which is good. And like I said, I'm going to try and see if I can find a way to hide this knot toward the back, or at least within another knot. Kind of putting it at the top, which that works for me. All right. Now this loop came right off, so I'm trying to figure out a way to keep it on. Maybe I can pull it. I think that would work. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. There. All right. I'm going to turn this over and do most of my knot on the back of this stone because this is the last one and we want it to kind of hang by itself. So I'm just going to include a little bit more here of this other. There's really not a right or a wrong way to do this. There. Now that guy will hold in there. Okay. So, now if I'm lucky, this will all balance and hold. And like I said, this is a nice little porch type thing. It's an all natural piece, as you can see. And it's like a mobile. It's kind of cool, actually. And everything's hanging really nicely. I don't think the rocks have any chance of falling out of there. and it'll sway in the wind, and it's an all-natural piece. So I hope you enjoyed this project. It's found objects again. You never know what you're gonna find laying around. And like us, share, subscribe to our channel, share our videos. Please comment and let me know what you think of this particular craft. And tune in next time to see which craft we're going to be doing next. Bye-bye now.